Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Zups. Today we are going to be learning how to make a palazzo pant with elastic waistband just for the back, as you can see on the thumbnail.
Okay, so for the top, this is a quick illustration on how I made a top. The fabric was placed on fold, okay, and I used the entire length of the width of the fabric. It's about 60 material, and the length of the dress is, or the length of the top is 47 inches, right? So the shoulder is 16 inches divided by 2. I have 8 inches, and the sleeve length was 22 inches. So the neck opening for the back is 4.5 by 2, and the front is 4.5 by 3.5 with a slit at the front. So from the shoulder line, I came down by 1.5 inches to get my shoulder slope, and from the shoulder slope I made an opening for the round sleeve, and the round sleeve measurement is 12 inches divided by 2. I have 6 inches. So from where I marked the round sleeve, I came in by 1.5 inches to create a curve for the arm area. Okay, so you can use your marker or your chalk to blend the curve perfectly so it doesn't look so sharp when you are done joining. Okay, so from there I connected from the sleeve point down to the hem of the dress, which is 47 inches length. So you can go ahead and close up the shoulder. You pipe or you turn the round sleeve measurements, and then you use 1/2 inch or 1 inch to sew up the sides. Then you hem your dress. So let's move into the pant making. If you want a detailed video on how the top was made, please leave a comment in the comment section.
Okay, moving straight into the main business of today, we are folding the fabric using the lap measurement or the tie measurement divided by 2 plus extra 2 inches. So you make a straight line at the top to create your top line. From the top line, I came down by 9 inches to get the hip line, and for the crotch line I divided the hip by 4 plus extra 1.5 or 2 inches allowance because it's a big pant and I don't want it to be tight anywhere. Okay, so I connected the lines, and that gave us our crotch line. So the next measurement is going to be the length of the top, the pants, please. So the pants will be having a 2 inches bend, which I have reduced from the top of the fabric to get the length of the pant is 44 inches. So 44, we are going to be adding extra 2 inches for our folding allowance. Okay, you can make multiple lines on your fabric and connect them so you can have a straight line. So I'm adding the extra 2 inches for the folding allowance. Okay, now on the waistline, we are not going to be using the waist measurement because this is going to be having an elastic waistband. So on the waistline, we place the hip measurement divided by 4 equally on the hip line and on the crotch line. So from the waistline, you connect the hip divided by 4 to the crotch line. So on the crotch line is where you are going to place your tie measurement. So the tie divided by 2 plus extra 2 inches, whatever it gives you, you can mark that at the crotch line. So at the hem of the pants, on the folded part, I came in by 2 inches because I just wanted that curve there. Okay, so I came in by 2 inches from the side, that is the side line, and equally 2 inches from the center front. Okay, so which I connected from the crotch point to the hem of the trouser, to the length of the trouser, 2 inches in from both sides. I didn't want to take entire 4 from one side, so I needed the 2 inches to be shared on both sides. So I went ahead to connect that to the crotch line. So to get our curve, you connect from your hip to the crotch line. Just a curve like this. You don't need to go too deep like the second line. No, your crotch is really going to look funny. So the first line is okay. So right now we are done with the front. I'll pin this up and use it to cut the back. Now I cut the back. I brought out 2 inches allowance from the center back, that's from the folded back, okay, and the back waist is going to be longer than the front by 1.5 inches. That is what I used here. I raised the center back 1.5 inches from the front, which are connected to the waist of the front. So you can go ahead and cut. Now normally this is how you're supposed to place your fabric when you want to cut the back. The 2 inches extra always comes to the curved part, but I decided to do it the other way, leaving the 2 inches as if I am leaving a zip allowance, so that when I curve, I will have the curve equal, like uniform curve. Sometimes when you place the other way without leaving the allowance close to you or at the center or the closed part, the curve does not always come out in a uniformed way. Okay, so I prefer to use this method. Leave the 2 inches before you place the front piece, just the way you do your zipper allowance. Okay, so we've cut the back and the front. The difference between the back and the front is the back is 2 inches bigger than the front. Okay, so you fold your fabric. We are moved into the sewing. From the crotch, we are sewing the crotch of the front. Just match up. You can pin down. This fabric is really light, so working with pins is very important. So I went ahead to stitch down the crotch of the front and equally did same to the back. So this is what it looks like after stitching it down. So after stitching both down, I went ahead to pin the sides. Remember, the back is actually bigger than the front, so I'll be using 1 inch to close the sides of the pant. No pockets, please. Okay, so 1 inch from the waist down. Is a big pant, so it does not require any fitting. Okay, now I have my front and the back piece together. So I'm closing the other side of the pants using 1 inch seam allowance. Now to close up the inseam, before I did this, I had to weave the crotch lines, and I matched it up and then used 1 inch also to sew this down. So I'm making an inseam. I'm closing the inseam right now. Just make sure that it is well fixed, that both lines are lined properly, not one being up and the other being down. Okay, so I prefer to stitch one side down first and then the other side. So this fabric is a light duchess, or you can call it a silk fabric. It's really slippery on the machine. Okay, so after sewing, I went ahead to measure the round waist of the pants, and I have 40 inches, whereas the actual waist I'm working with is 32 inches. Okay, so but I have 40 inches after measuring round the waist of the joint pants. The 40 inches is what we are going to use to cut the band we are going to be attaching to this pants. Okay, so when you cut your band, you can go ahead and fold in one side by 1/2 inch. The band I cut was 3 inches. I needed just 2, so I would need 1/2 and 1/2 to turn the waistline. So, and I ironed paper stay to it just to give it some firmness. So I'll go ahead and match up the side, matching up the crease lines, and close the side of the band by 1/2 inch, because I don't want the joining to look somehow. So I prefer to close mine this way, using just 1/2 inch to close up the sides of the band. So once you're done, you can open up the seam, can give it a good press, and then you fold it in. This is going to leave your band in a circular form, leaving no opening anymore. Okay, so this band now is going to be attached to your pants from the back. I want the seam to be at the back and not in front. So I'll take my pants, and always remember that the back is bigger in case you get confused. So you match up the seam. You are supposed to do this from the wrong side so that you finish your seam at the right side of, or on the right side of your fabric, please. So you pin on the wrong side. I made a mistake here. I pinned on the right, but later I reverted. Okay, so you pin on the wrong side so that when you are done stitching, you can go ahead and finish up your seam on the right so that you see where you are actually stitching on. Okay, so by the time you're done inserting your elastic, this is how you're going to close it. So I'll be using elastic length of 12 inches. Okay, and the width of the elastic is 1.5 inches. You know, my band is 2 inches, so you need a little gap so that your elastic will sit properly. So you pin from one side of the side seam of your pants back, just at the back. Okay, so I pinned first at one side of the back and then moved the elastic towards the other side of the back. So now you can go ahead and stitch your elastic band down. As you stitch, please do not stitch so close to the band, like the seam you used in joining the band to the waistline. Just give it a little space so that when you want to turn, you won't encounter any difficulty. Okay, always double stitch so that your seams doesn't come loosening. So I stitched the sides first to keep the elastic in place on that angle, and then I turned to the length of the fabric. So as you stitch your elastic, pull. You are going to pulling, you drag it so that it forms the gathers that you want. Okay, if you don't drag, you end up stitching your elastic and there will not be any effect shown. Okay, so always drag your elastic. You know, you're using 12 inches elastic, and it's quite small, or smaller than the waist measurement, just measuring from side to side of the back. So pulling will help you in making the elastic go round. Okay, round just the back of your pant. So when you are done stitching one side, you can go ahead and stitch the top also. Okay, so as you stitch the top also, you are equally pulling. Don't just stitch straight. If you stitch straight, there will not be any effect. Now we are going to be finishing our pant. You go ahead and close up your stitching. You pull the folded part of your band. You can use your pin just to make sure that the side lines align properly before you sew. And as you stitch down the back also, having the elastic, ensure that you equally pull. Okay, so to create more design at the back where the elastic is, I'm stitching on top of, I'll be making like 2 lines on top of the elastic. At least this will equally help keep it more firm, as well as create a beautiful design, ruffles design at the back of the pant. So I'm making the second line. As I stitch, I'm equally dragging the elastic from the inside. So this is what the back piece of our pants looks like, so beautiful, and the front piece is straight. Now you're going to lay your pants straight on your table this way, and then if you have your length uneven, you can even that out and trim. I already have excess on that area, so I will trim and then take this back to my sewing machine Before this, I equally weaved the inseam of my fabric and the sides. So I went ahead now to fold in using just 1 inch to fold in. Okay, so this is the finished look of the front part of the pant, and this is the back. All right, and if you want a tutorial on the top, please leave a comment in the comment section.